Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome. Today is Columbus Day in America. If you celebrate Columbus Day, it is also, more importantly, it is Indigenous Peoples Day. That is worth celebrating. It is October 11th, 2021. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is my turn to talk. So again, most importantly, happy Indigenous People Day. Okay, so I'm going to get started. Today we're going to talk about disrespecting personal property, like your home. And there's a reason why I want to talk about this. Why do people allow their pets to do their business on your grass? Why do people allow their children to play on your lawn? Is it a big deal to disrespect someone else's property when the homeowner is usually the one cleaning up or repairing the damage? What are your thoughts? Now I'm going to go to why do people allow their children to play on your lawn? Hello, OJ, welcome. And this may seem silly. There are people who never want you to step on their grass. When I was growing up, some friends and I, we used to walk up to the candy store, and there was always this one man who sat outside on his front porch. And if you even looked at his grass, he was yelling and screaming, saying, "Get off my lawn, get off my lawn." And when you're little, you don't think it's a big deal. But I will say this, being a homeowner, and you take the time to make sure that your house looks nice, your grass looks nice. When people tend to play on your lawn a lot, if they're just running across the lawn, whatever, it's no big deal. But if they continuously play on it and they're playing uh, football or whatever, it does tend to ruin the lawn, and the homeowner is the one who has to repair it. But my problem is, and this is why I wanted to do this show, I consistently have two neighbors in on my block who consistently allow their dogs to do their business on my on my lawn. And you guys may think this is funny, but they never pick it up. Okay, if they're gonna, I understand dogs have to go, but as a dog owner, can you pick it up? I have 3 dogs. I have 3. And I'm walking, I don't, when I'm out walking them, I usually walk 2 of them at a time. And I have my bag and everything, and I'm picking up after them, even if, they're in the park. We have these receptacles and what have you. So OJ says, what the? Seriously. So it may seem silly, but just disrespecting someone else's property. Now, that's outside. Let's go indoors. All right. And we may have talked about this a couple of shows ago, a couple of weeks ago, whatever. But when people come into your home, adults and children, sometimes they don't respect your home. They spill things. They thank you, OJ. He says it's not silly at all. It's not done. But people come into your home, and I used to have guests over a lot, but I stopped because I would look around and I'm like, excuse my French, I'm like, well, damn, it's like, if you spill something, can you pick it up? Things were on my sofa, you have stains, what have you. And I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. Or people would bring their kids over, their kids are jumping up and down on my sofa and they're not telling them to stop. And am I being like just overly, gee, Solid Blue, you should just really chill? Or, should you, as a guest in someone else's home, respect their home? So, having said that, OJ, you are the first one here. Do you have something you want to say? If not, I'm going to keep going because I have a lot to say on this subject. So you are more than welcome if you would like to say something. There you go. But until OJ comes on, I would really just like to know, um, you know, what you guys think. Um, you know, do you think it's a big deal? Should you, if you have that one neighbor who, consistently, um, which I have had, consistently, their dog was consistently jumping on the fence, jumping on the fence, jumping on the fence. And then the fence got damaged. It was like leaning and it had to be repaired. I wanted it replaced, but they didn't want to replace it. They just wanted to repair it. But then they're like, well, we can go half and half. No, your dog is the one that was doing it. I've been telling you, for years, your dog is going to knock this fence over, and it's not a chain link fence or anything, it was a wooden fence. We have since upgraded. I said I wasn't going to replace it unless it was upgraded. But, don't tell me that I should pay half and you don't want to replace it, you want to repair it, and I'm supposed to pay half of a damage that your dog did. Hello, Crucible Man. So, having said all that, did anyone want to come in and comment? You think I'm being too picky or what? I just feel that when you're over someone else's house, and I try to respect, someone else's home. People may not always respect my home, but when I go to other people's homes, I, try to respect it. You clean up after yourself. You don't make a mess. You respect them and their property. But I don't know. And I see this across the board. I see this whether no matter what kind of home life you had, whatever. I see, and it's interesting because I see a lot of disrespect coming from people who have money. I mean, you just look at it and it's like they just think that they can do whatever they want. So, and that leads into another topic. Not only is it respecting someone's property, um, you know, like having their pets do their business on your grass or, whatever. Um, but just respect for property, period. And like I said, that's just something that I just don't see. And this is something that I have not seen, not just in today's society, but even when I was growing up, I didn't see it. I didn't see it from a lot of different people. So, and I want to know, should you call those people out? Because I think that you should. I think that you should call out disrespect and bad behavior, especially if it's on your own turf. I think you should. You know, um, don't come into my home disrespecting it. Um, don't come into my home, if you spill something. I mean, I understand accidents do happen, but if you spill something, can you, pick it up or clean it up or, come and tell me, hey, I accidentally made a mess or something. And that's another thing I want to know. Now I sound like that I am ranting, but I really don't mean to. When you have guests over your home and you're having a party, do you expect your guests to stay like in the party area? Do you think it's rude for them to like walk around your house? And thank you, OJ. OJ says I'm not ranting. Do you think that it's appropriate for guests to walk around your house where they go into your personal space, like your bedroom, or if there's a door that is closed and it's closed for a reason because you don't want people in there, that they're going into those closed doors, and the next thing you know, they're all over your house, or do you think that if you have a party and it's in your home, then it's open, it's a free for all. It's like, yeah, you can come in my house, whatever. I mean, what do you think? Anybody want to jump in? If not, I can keep going. Okay, Crucible Man wants the mic. And you have the mic. Okay, and Crucible Man is not on. Let me do this again. All right. Okay. You have the mic, Crucible Man.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Yeah, as far as people not respecting the space at a party or something, yeah, that's a delicate one, depending on who they are. I can't imagine wandering around somebody's house or, God forbid, going into their bedroom. But people are so rude today. I don't really have a articulate explanation as to why that is. Obviously, we can fall back on the internet and do that routine again, but I can't believe it's all because of the internet. And people will do as much as they can get away with until somebody calls them on it. Having said that, you'll be exhausted before the day is over if you called everybody out who was rude or disrespectful. There's a certain element, I think, that everybody has to kind of go along to get along, because that's all we would do is call people out, because people are just rude. I mean, they don't have any respect for, I see people in my neighborhood constantly letting dogs do their business on people's lawns. They don't clean up. I mean, it's just one example after the next. And yes, I get annoyed and I get irritated, but I just think to call people out every single time they annoy you, you got to pick your spots. I think it's a question of self-preservation. Not that I'm giving these people a pass, but it'll create more wear and tear and stress for me if I'm constantly being vigilant to find the people who are, committing these transgressions. That can be exhausting considering how often it happens these days.
Okay, so I'm not saying call people out, okay, there's somebody over there, they're doing something, I'm gonna call that person out. I'm specifically talking about, and I think you missed this part before you came on. I'm specifically, okay, hold on for a second. I see the mic on, try talking, but nothing happens. Okay, OJ, you might want to go out and come back in. Or let me send you another invite and see if you can connect that way. If not, you might want to go out and come back in. But I just sent you, okay. I see that you should be connected. But I'm not talking about just calling people out randomly. I'm specifically talking about your property, your home. And I personally think that if you are in my home and you are doing something that is disrespectful, yes, I'm going to call you out. And more than likely, depending upon what it is, I will tell you that you're not invited to my home again. I have told people that. If you're, like I said, when the show first started, that there are two particular neighbors on my block who consistently let their dog do their business on my lawn. And I called them out on it, and they thought it was funny. So what I did was, is on my camera, I see them doing it, and I showed them that yes, it is you and it is your dog. I got my pooper scooper, I picked it up, and I put it on their driveway. One neighbor stopped. The other one continued to do it until I started having to treat my grass that is not very welcoming to dogs. Then it stopped because his dog started to get irritated and he got upset with me. I'm like, why don't you pick it up? If they're going to do it, pick it up. That's all I'm asking you to do. Pick it up. So again, I'm not saying just calling out people randomly. I'm talking specifically to your property. Yes, it will get exhausting if you just call people out, whatever, but I'm talking family, friends, whatever. If you come over to my home and you're disrespecting my property, and most of the time people know they're being disrespectful. So am I wrong? And OJ, I see that you're connected, but you're not connected. So you may want to go out and come back in at this point because I see you're connected, but you're not. Okay. So Crucible Man, did you want to respond to what I said?
Yeah, I guess now that it has a little more context to it, yeah, I do agree. The neighbors are tough because you got to live with them. At the same time, it's kind of one of those you give an inch and they take a mile. So you do have to kind of nip these things in the beginning, or they will get out of hand. I thought you were more referring to just rude behavior in general that takes place, all the time throughout the course of our days. But if it's strictly confined to our personal spaces or our property, then yeah, that's a personal affront. That is the height of disrespect. What you're saying basically is, I know you can see me doing this, and I don't care enough about you to change my behavior. And if you call me on it, there's a pretty good chance, because people who are going to do that kind of thing on a consistent basis are probably not the types that are going to apologize and be contrite when they're confronted. You're probably going to get into something with them because they sound like a-holes at their core. So again, it depends on the frequency of it and how involved you're going to be. Because
Crucible Man, let me stop you for a moment. If you want to come in here with this white power crap, you need to leave. Okay, I'm not dealing with this, whatever. So you can take your little comment, or whoever you are. I've already blocked you, whatever. But you seriously need to leave. I'm not putting up with it. And this white power crap is what's wrong with this country now. Is why this country is going to hell. So there. So you're not going to be able to speak or whatever, but I'm not putting up with it. Crucible Man, I apologize. You can keep going.
nothing like a real-time example to drive the point home, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so I guess I forgot what I was where I left off there, but I think, like I said, you're dealing with people who don't care about anybody but themselves, and so the chances of you getting through to them, and suddenly they're enlightened, they have this epiphany. Oh, that's right. You're not supposed to let your dog crap on somebody else's lawn. I forgot about that. I don't think that's going to be the period of enlightenment you're going to encounter. I think you're going to get a mind your own business. I was going to pick it up. I forgot, lighten up, that kind of a thing, because these are bad people at their core. They know that you're watching them. They know that you have proof, and they still defy any accountability. So again, with neighbors, given the proximity you have to them and the frequency of which you see them, you can't allow that stuff to go unchecked, because that's the height of disrespect. I mean, if you can't respect somebody's personal property, then you don't respect them as a person, I don't think.
And I agree with you. I'm sorry. I'm just I'm just steaming over this person who entered,
I
and
understand.
this is the crap that I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, you know, neighbors, yes, you do have to live with them, and you can live with them in harmony by, you stay on your side and I stay on my side. If you don't want to talk, whatever, that's fine. But again, I'm just saying, can you just pick it up? Is it really that hard? So
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
I don't know that it's so hard. There's nothing hard about it. It's an attitude, I think, that comes from, I'm better than you, or I don't have to do these menial tasks. That's for other people to do. And something as personal, I don't know what other word to use. Maybe disgusting is a word. As having the dog do its business and not clean that up. I mean, what kind of a message is that person sending to you personally about how they feel about you and your property?
I don't know, but if you can hold on again, for some reason I'm getting all these KKK people in here. Am I pushing a button? Is Solid Blue Sister pushing a button with the white power crowd? Is this a problem? Are you all still just behind? You all really, you're going to go storm the Capitol again? Is this what you all are doing? And they are a bunch of idiots. So yes, share my show. The more you share, the more my algorithm goes up. So yes, please share it. My algorithms and my numbers will go up. So yes, thank you very much. You have been blocked, so you will not be able to say anything. And again, Crucible Man, I apologize for the interruption.
No worries.
But again, this is the epitome of respect and rudeness, and something tells me I will be dealing with this during the entire show. So apparently, I have pushed some uh, buttons on this show. So I'm going to change gears a little bit. So, how do you approach people who damage your property, but they don't want to pay for it? That's a question for you, Crucible Man.
Yeah, you're rarely, I should say, going to win an argument with an unreasonable person. And if people are rude enough, disrespectful enough, to repeatedly, commit these kinds of transgressions, the chances of them ever really seeing your side of it, I think are completely remote. So for them to say, yeah, I've been doing this bad thing, or I've been causing these problems for such a period of time, or I've caused this one problem, why don't I do this? Why don't I go ahead and pay for that and handle it that way? I just think you have people who behave that way. You're not going to get the other side of them to suddenly be so benevolent and so cooperative. You're going to get the middle finger every single time, especially, I mean, it'd be one thing to get them to curb the behavior. If you can actually get them to fork up some of their hard-earned money, you're a miracle worker.
Yeah. I mean, and some people they do step up to the plate, and they do pay for damages. Hold on for a second. I want to respond to what OJ said. Just a word of caution. Please take care. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but I haven't done anything wrong. I have not done anything wrong. So, and my podcast, I'm not promoting violence or anything like this. All my entire pod has been, ever since I've been on, has been, um, okay, I am sure about it. Well, I will have to take other measures then. But I appreciate it and I thank you. Okay, so if you are doing something to your neighbor or even your car, do you think that, how you have some people, they hit someone's car in the parking lot, whatever, they'll put a note on your car and say, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that that's something that you should always do, even if it's just like a little scratch, or what do you think?
Well, people today, they can tend to be very touchy, and every little thing they blow it out of proportion, or some people are capable of it. So if you were to leave a note after just kind of scratching their car without any real, you're giving them an opening. If they're the kind of person that's not honest, you're giving them an opening to potentially take advantage of you, of your good nature, of You may say, okay, I only think it's about $100. I don't want to pay you for it, and they end up taking it to a mechanic or taking it for three. It turns out, well, it's 800. So it's a risky proposition, but certainly if you've caused damage or have done something that is going to cost money to the person whose car that is, or whatever personal property you're talking about, yeah, I think you have to at least, leave your name and phone number. If the person ends up being a jerk, you don't have any obligation or anything. But yeah, I would put the ball in their court. If they choose to pursue it, at least they've got your name and your number. And if it turns out that they're unreasonable jerks, then you can just move on, accordingly.
Okay, so let's say you're having a party at your house and someone damaged, they broke a lamp or whatever. Um, they spilled something on your sofa, and you know, um, it wasn't let's just say it wasn't so much of an accident, or more so of them being careless. Like if you had warned them before, like, could you please, kind of be careful, you might spill something, or could you please, just kind of, just be careful, you might break something, and they're being careless and they break something. Do you just silently suck it up and just have it fix yourself? Or do you call them out because you did say before, could you please be careful?
Well, yeah, it's one thing to call them out. It's another thing to ask that they pay to fix whatever they broke. Sometimes things are just an accident. Sometimes people aren't intending to have such a bad outcome. They get a little bit carried away. They're at a party. They get a little bit over exuberant. Maybe they have too much to drink. So certainly I would say, look, I told you not to do that, and look what happened. Please respect my property, kind of a thing. And then I would probably leave it at that. I have to kind of think that there are accidents that happen. You can't you can't hold everybody accountable in the extreme, because accidents do happen. It would depend on the circumstances, I guess, who this person is, how often similar things have happened, and kind of take it on a case by case basis. But I think there is a point at which you do have to throw your hands up and say, stuff happens.
But at what would get to the point where it just pushes you, like, to the point where you have to say something?
Repeat offenders.
Okay, okay, I'm sorry, let me stop you for a moment. Repeat offenders, like every time they come to a party, or repeat offenders for that particular party?
Every time they come to a party,
Okay.
or at that particular party. I mean, I think people deserve to be warned in a polite, constructive way about what the ground rules are. Not to talk to them like children, but to let them know what the ground rules are and what you expect and what the behavior is like. And if they continue to flout that, then I think you take it, to a different level. But if it's just innocent fun where somebody just happens to be a yo-yo, and they just don't know how to act in public, then I guess you don't invite them to any more parties. But I think you have to be careful with the confrontation part of it, because minor, kind of innocent things can really spiral out of control if they're not handled properly on either side.
Okay. And what if that does that also apply to family? Like, would you never say anything to family, or would you say something to family? Excuse me.
I'd probably let the family thing go, just because it's the family. I'm fortunate enough to be in a family where we have respectful people, and we've never had issues of people, acting the fool, or being an idiot in public. Not even cousins or distant relatives. So in that way, I've been fortunate. So I don't really have a good frame of reference to use. But when it comes to family, I would probably have to err on the side of letting it go, as opposed to making an issue of it. That's just me.
And would that be all the time? Like, you always would give family a pass, or at what point do you not give family a pass?
Yeah, like I said, I'm a bigger fan because family is family and they are forever. And I don't. I'm lucky I don't have jerks in my family that we've ever had to even remotely have to address this. It kind of goes to some of your earlier shows about how we were brought up and how our parents raised us. But yeah, in the abstract, if it were a situation where it just kept happening, then I don't know that the family bonds matter as much, because they certainly don't matter to this family member that's been repeatedly ignoring your wishes or repeatedly doing things that cause you problems. So if they're not respecting the family bonds, then I'd kind of have to say, okay, well, what's fair is fair. If the family bonds don't mean anything to you, then maybe they shouldn't mean anything to me. But in a perfect world, I prefer to stay clear of confrontations with my family, just because I'm going to need somebody to visit me in my nursing home someday.
Okay, all right.
That's how I
I
roll.
all right. So let's go back for a moment to well, we are still on this about damaging other people's property. Let me ask you this, and I'm not necessarily specifically talking about how you are um, with your family. Okay, I'm talking about just in general. So let's say that you let your friend borrow your car, and your friend was out driving, whatever, and they had an accident, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I damaged your car, and but you want it fixed. It's a fender bender. It's something that needs to be fixed." And they don't want to fix it. They're like, it's really not a big deal. Your insurance should pay for it, whatever. But the fact is they damage your car. Now, you loan your car to your brother, you loan your car to your sister. It's the exact same accident, the exact same damage. Do you expect both of them uh, to pay for it, or do you give your brother or sister a pass because they're family? And OJ says upbringing plays a major role in the way people behave in such a manner. I would agree with that. I would agree. So, Crucible Man, and OJ, if you of course you know that you are more than welcome to have the mic. I'm not exactly sure what is going on with your system today, but Crucible Man, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, in a case like that, I would certainly expect them to pay for whatever damage was caused. If they didn't want to do it, then that would certainly put a strain on the relationship, because now if they're absolutely destitute, they don't have any money. There are family situations like that, and they absolutely just cannot pay. They're very apologetic, and you can tell that they're remorseful. Then I don't think you have any choice but to kind of just swallow it and deal with it yourself. But absent those circumstances, if it's costing you money out of pocket, then yes, I absolutely think you should expect them to pay. If they refuse to pay, then I think you have a pretty good idea of what you're dealing with in that family member. And I think you're within your rights to, if not cut off communication, significantly change the complexion of the kind of relationship that you have, because it boils down to respect at that point. If this person has the wherewithal to pay for the damage that they've done and they just simply refuse to, that says an awful lot about that family member. And I think that gives you permission to proceed accordingly and have a different relationship or have no relationship with that person.
Okay, so OJ says he takes it to, well, first he says, why not? In both of the two cases, the offender has to pay. And welcome, Shy Lady. And then he says, I take it to a different level. I never loan my car to family just to maintain a good relationship. Now I'm with OJ. I don't loan my car to anyone. I don't even drive my husband's car unless it's an emergency, and he does not drive mine. It's like, that's yours. This is mine. But I do not loan my car out to anyone. But let me ask you this, uh, Crucible Man. So, in the case of having your car, in case of an accident with your car and they damage that, and you expect a family member to pay, I come back to the party in your house. A family member damages something in your house when they're at a party or just over your house, whatever, and it's damaged. I mean, and I'm saying, it's not like it's going to take, cost $20 to repair. This is damage that you're going to have to seriously come out of pocket for. Do you expect your family member to pay for a damage that they did inside your home, or do you give them a pass?
Well, the short answer would be I would expect them to pay, but it would also depend on who that person is, what the nature of my relationship with them is. And, I've got 4 siblings and I have a different relationship with each of them. It depends on, maybe a sibling did me a really, really big favor 5 or 10 years ago that they didn't need to do. It helped me out of a jam. Maybe it even involved money. I mean, the list goes on of things that people do for people that need to be factored in to any kind of a decision that you're going to make on how to handle something. If it's a family member that I maybe don't have a particularly close relationship with, or somebody who's never really, done anything extraordinary for me, then that kind of levels the playing field. So I think these things are complicated because the people involved, the relationships are complicated, but I would not want to burn a bridge with a family member who's been loyal to me or has had my back in instances in the past, and thinking selfishly, I would need them to have my back again in the future. I think you have to weigh all those things and say, is it worth the short-term aggravation in order to, knowing the damage that this is going to cause, and maybe I'm hurting myself down the road, because when I say, I joke about the nursing home, but on the other hand, I'm not joking about it. So some decisions you need to make with an eye toward other things that may not make real sense at the time, but if you're thinking longer term, then maybe you decide to bite the bullet, pay for the damage yourself in order to preserve, a relationship for down the road. But again, it depends on the 2 people involved, I think.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm a little bit more strict, just across the board. I try to just keep the playing field fair when it comes to, you know, calling people out and requiring them to pay for damage or something. If it's something small, little, they made a mistake or whatever. But again, I came up with this topic mainly because I got tired of people, these 2 particular neighbors, allowing their dogs to do, their business on my grass. And it wasn't even the fact that they're even doing their business on my grass. Like I said before, it's just the fact that they're not picking it up. And I was just remembering times that, when I've had people in my home, things that have happened in my home, or even when I've gone to other people's homes and they've had parties, and I've just seen the way some people just disrespect their property, and they're like going through things, what have you. I had a party one time when this was way back when I was still living in the Chicago area, and the party was downstairs. But upstairs, I go upstairs into my bathroom, and literally, not only have they been in my bedroom and my bathroom, but they've gone through my closet. So it's like,
What?
you know, what, you know, what, you know, are you serious? And when I called them out for it, they thought it was funny. I'm like, why are you all even upstairs? There's a bathroom downstairs, and then you're going to go into my bedroom. But I know people do that. I know people do that. So and I know this just not, towards me. I've been to parties where I've seen people go into personal space. So at that point, number one, you're not coming back to my house anymore. But then it made me, when I have people over, it's like the upstairs is off limits, whatever. And, if you see a closed door in someone's home, the door to me is closed for a reason. Apparently, you're not supposed to go into that room. So, I just, for me, personal space is very important to me. I value my personal space. I value my privacy. I value my personal space, and I respect other people's personal space. And I guess I just expect people to respect mine. So, did you want to comment on that, Crucible Man? Shy Lady, if you want to jump in, whatever. And again, OJ, I'm so sorry that your mic is not working for you today. So, and OJ says sick people. Yes, sick people. There are a lot of sick people. Anybody want to comment? Or do you think I'm just inquisitiveness? I don't think that's inquisitiveness, OJ. I mean, you're being very politically correct. That's just being downright nosy. That is just being downright nosy. So, I just don't understand. I mean, I would never even think of going over someone's house, at a party or get together or something, and I go into their bedroom. It's like, why do I want to go into your bedroom? I mean, there's nothing there. So let me ask you guys another question. Have you guys ever had people come over your house and I'm actually angry listening to this stupid behavior. Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of stupid behavior out there. Um, have you guys ever gone over someone's house and you personally have asked to see someone's house, or can I have a tour? And the reason why I'm asking that is because I also have a problem with that. I have a problem with people who come over your house and they say, "Can I see your house?" If I say, would you like to see my house or whatever, that's one thing. But for people to come over and say, "Can I see your house?" Any comments to that? Because I just think that is just so incredibly rude. Or I've had people come over who have brought other people over, who have said, "Oh, so and so, wants to see your house." Well, I don't give tours. Shy Lady, welcome.
Hey, I believe that I might have said that to a friend who, um, like a housewarming or something. Then it's kind of expected, in my opinion, it's kind of expected. They're happy to show off their new house and out of it. So I think I may have
But a
done that
housewarming,
before.
to me, a housewarming is different, because a lot of times if you have a housewarming, like you said, people, they're inviting you over to their house. I just bought this house, whatever. They're excited to show it, whatever. But I'm saying you've been in your house for I don't know how long, and someone says, "Hey, I want to see your house," or whatever. I mean, I just think that is rude. I mean, people may think that I'm being overly whatever, but I just think that's rude.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you've known the person a while.
Comment.
But like I said, I have. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Okay, because I
Yes.
have been
I can
over.
hear you.
I've been over to a person's house and invited us over for a get together, and they made this very large purchase house, $1 million home, and they were very proud to show it. And I mean, like I said, thought it was kind of expected to get a tour, which we did. We did get a tour, and it was nice. It was a nice house.
Okay. But again, it was a housewarming, right?
Yes.
All right. So let's say you go over someone's house and they've been in the house, say, for 5 years, whatever. Would you ask them for a tour? Would you say, can I see your house?
No, it seems weird. No.
Okay. And if someone said that to you, what would you say?
I actually had a relative that came from out of town, and they wanted to see the house, and I was like, okay, sure, no big deal. Didn't bother me any, but they wanted to see it, so I took them around. But
Okay.
it didn't bother me because I knew that you know they were from a rural area, and being in a bigger city with a bigger home was kind of a big deal for them to see. So I I didn't care about showing it.
Okay. All right. Now, Crucible Man says it's just a house, and OJ starts laughing. And I mean, in theory, it is just a house. But again, for me, and this is just me personally, this is my own personal thing, oh, it was for to Shy Lady. Okay. I just had this thing about my personal space. I had this thing about my personal space because the last time that someone asked, and this was years ago, when we were still living in LA. We lived in this area where it was a private street, and there were only four homes on the street, and the homes were all three level, and I mean it was a really nice house. And a member of my husband's family came over to visit, and she brought some people from out of town. And she said, we were sitting there talking, for a couple hours, whatever. Then she says, "Oh, um, let's see your house. They really want to see your house." And I said, "Well, I don't give tours, and my house is not in the position to be shown. I mean, we had not, it's like we cleaned up where they were, but like the upstairs and stuff, it was a mess. And I had some stuff laying out that I needed to put away." So she proceeds to, you know, start walking through the house, and my husband wasn't home, and he came home in the middle of her walking around, whatever. And we get to my bedroom, and she's like, "Oh," and she says, "Well, you have this and you have that, and this is stuff that was laying out." And it was like, again, my house was not in the position to be shown. And then my husband got upset with me because he says, "Well, didn't you know that this was out or whatever?" I'm like, "Excuse me, these are your relatives." I mean, so I don't think it is a sticky situation, but I did get upset when we were coming back downstairs, and I looked at her. I said, "Please don't ever do that again. This is my home. I said my house was not in the position to be shown. I don't give tours." And she got upset, and her relatives, they kind of, were put out with what I said. But again, for me personally, this is my personal space. And I just had this thing about my personal space. Anybody want to comment? No? Okay. Okay. And OJ says it's a sticky situation. I don't think it is a sticky situation. I think if you know it's it's respect. You just don't stand up and say, "Oh, I want to see your house." And if someone says, you know, my house is not in the position, right now to be shown, then you just chill out. You just kind of step back. So yes, it is just a house, but Crucible Man, now I'm going to ask you, at what point do they cross the line into your personal space? I mean, where does your personal space begin and where does it end? So I guess that's another thing that I can ask everyone. Where does your personal space begin and where does it end? Or is it not a big deal? Crucible Man, you have the mic.
Yeah, I think these kinds of situations are no different than any other social situation that we find ourselves in, whether it's in the workplace, whether we're on a date, a first or second date where we don't really know the other person that well. We're in any kind of a social setting where we may not know a lot of people. I remember when we were very, very, very young, we didn't go out a lot. My parents didn't have enough money to go out, but we would occasionally go to a nice restaurant just to do it. And I remember my mother always telling us, she never had to worry about taking us any place because we always knew our place. We respected our elders. We kept our mouths shut. We minded when we were told not to do something or to do something. So it comes down to judgment and common sense. We all know what the right thing to do is, pretty much. We all know what an inappropriate thing is to do. So I don't know that it's so much that people just don't know. Sometimes people are obtuse. They're not as self-aware as they probably need to be. But I think it comes down to common sense and judgment. You have to know where the lines are. You have to know that there's a right way to say something to somebody and an inappropriate way to say something to somebody. So it kind of cuts across all kinds of social lines. But when it comes to somebody's personal space, again, I did say a house is just a house. I mean, you got furniture. You may have bigger rooms than somebody else does or a nicer view or something. But at the end of the day, it's a structure. And so I wouldn't go too crazy with people wanting to see my house, but I also wouldn't be the kind of person who would ever suggest, hey, give me a tour of your house. There are just certain things that you should know are not appropriate under certain situations, because you've been dealing with it in one form or another throughout your life. We've all been in social situations where we've seen somebody do something or say something that we would say to ourselves, oh my God, I would never have done that, or I would never have said that. So you have to know where the lines are drawn. And if you're not sure, you always err on the side of caution and respect for that other person's property and their space.
Okay, and I understand 100% what you're saying, but again, it's just a structure. It is a house, whatever, or whatever, your car, whatever. But I still ask, when, when, at what, okay, what does it have to take for you personally to have someone invade your personal space? I mean, when you feel like your personal space is being trounced on.
Not quite sure I understand the exact question when you say about my personal
Well,
space.
when I say your personal space, I mean, like I said, when it comes to my house, and what have you, I don't want you feeling that it's not okay for you to walk around my house and next thing I know you're in my bedroom. It's not okay, if I say, we're going to be outside, I'm entertaining outside, whatever. If you need to use the bathroom, I have a, pool bathroom, whatever. You know, I'm outside, everything is outside. But then the next thing I know, you know, you're either walking into my house, or I walk back into the kitchen to get something or something, and you're in my house and you're walking around, whatever. Your personal space. There are times when, if I'm sitting in the park and I'm, just reading a book or something, or I'm just sitting there just thinking or just taking in the scenery, and someone comes up to me and they're like, hi, how are you? And I'm like, fine, whatever. And I have a book in my hand. I'm trying to read my book. And then they start talking to me, and you kind of chat back a little bit, whatever. But you go back to your book and you're trying to let them see you're reading your book. But then they keep talking to you. To me, that's invading your personal space. So what does someone have to do to invade your personal space, or do you even have personal space that you even care about?
Yeah, that I would be so uncomfortable wandering around somebody's house while everybody's outside, and you go in and you start snooping and opening drawers or opening doors. I mean, that would make me so uncomfortable because that it's inappropriate and you're disrespecting somebody's space. But I guess if somebody, were to sit down next to me on a bench and I was trying to read, I would indulge them for a little while because they're just being polite, just trying to make conversation. And I probably need to do more of that than less of it. And I would indulge them for a while. And that there probably would be a point at which, rather than say to them, hey, dumbass, can't you see I'm reading a book here? I would probably just look at my watch and say, if you'll excuse me, I've got an appointment or I've got some place I've got to get to. And I would just go sit on another park bench just because it's just easier. But, if somebody's in my house or in my bedroom or something, I would find maybe a self-deprecating way, using humor to make my point without embarrassing that person. I would maybe try to make a joke about it that would get the point across without making everybody uncomfortable, creating an awkward situation. But you have to let people know when they've crossed the line, and how you do that, probably has some impact on whether it's effective or not. I don't think you always get anywhere with being real super strict or coming down real hard on people. I think if you can find a way to joke around about it, people aren't dumb. They'll get the point. And if you can do it in a way that keeps things kind of light, then I think you may be able to kill two birds with one stone.
Now, see, that's where I disagree with you. And I want to just say what Feisty One says. She says, when someone who is unfamiliar with me becomes too comfortable without being invited. Okay. So, Crucible Man, you just said, humor, people are not stupid. But I think that some people are stupid, because if you're in someone's house and you're in their bedroom, that's someplace that you should not be. Why do I have to be humorous in order to make my point, especially if you knew that the party was outside, or even if it was inside? You're in my bedroom. You're in my personal area. You're in my personal space. Why do I have to make you feel, um, uh, comfortable, or, whatever? I mean, that, that to me, that doesn't make sense. Shy Lady, may I ask a question on another level? Of course you can. Of course you can. My show always goes in a different direction. So what did you want to say?
Well, it's actually on the same topic, personal space. When we were talking about people's homes, I was reminded of a situation, and let me ask you, because I know I've known you for a while, but I want to ask what your opinion is. What if the situation is this? This is a true story. It's about personal space. About 10 years ago, some members of our church who we're still in contact with, not really good friends. They weren't really good friends at the time, but they just happened to have a get together at their house, and this was a housewarming as well. And they had at the time my daughter was probably, well, it was more than 10 years ago. I think she was about 8. She was about 8. So this couple, they have three. They had two kids at the time. The kids were kind of young, like maybe 4 and 5 years old. So we're sitting in the living room or the family area, and all of a sudden, their Chihuahua comes over, jumps on our lap, and my daughter is screaming hysterically because she's first of all allergic to dogs and afraid. And the dogs start yapping. It's on the couch. It's walking on people's laps, and definitely invading the space and barking. And we asked the owner if he could put the dog up, and he replied, "Oh well." He asked him, I don't know what the dog was, a female or a male. Oh, she lives here or whatever. No, we're not going to do that. And I thought it was really rude because even if it was a child, I would not allow my child to be rude to guests, even though it's my house. I would not allow my child to act up and be rude and invade people's spaces. And we stayed. I just told my daughter to go outside, and in the patio area, we stayed a little bit longer. But I just thought that even though it's that person's house, I thought it was very rude that he had no control over his dog, whether it was his house or not. I thought he was very rude and very irresponsible. And I just wanted to say that because that was an invasion of personal space, in my opinion.
Okay, so you want me to answer that one?
Yes,
You want me to answer that one, Shy Lady?
yes. When you're in someone else's house and they invade your personal space, it's like the shoe on the other foot.
All right. So, as you know, when we were both living in the Chicago area, um, um, I had a particular dog, which you were familiar with, and that dog was my that particular dog invaded a lot of personal space. That dog invaded a lot of personal space, and I was constantly, I guess one of the biggest problems that I never did was I never had him neutered, whatever, which I think would have calmed him down. Yes, yes, Shirako. And he was a dog that was very, he would see people. He was one of those yap yap dogs, whatever. And um, uh, he invaded a lot of personal space, and I was constantly having to pick him up, put him in another room, but he would still, go crazy, whatever. But I do believe, and this is someone with 3 dogs, I do believe that if you have a dog or a cat or whatever, if someone is afraid of your dog or you see your dog is acting up, I do believe as a pet owner, you should take the initiative and put that dog outside. If you're able, at the time I was living in an apartment, I couldn't, put them outside. But you should remove them. Now, I don't like cats. I do not like cats. I cannot stand cats. And when I go over someone's house, one of the first things that I ask them is I'll say, "Do you have cats?" And if they say yes, I personally will not go into that person's house. I have been in people's homes with cats where the cats have jumped up on me, and I freak out around cats. I do not like them. So what I do is I just don't go into that person's home. If they have cats, I just don't. I just don't. Um, but as a pet owner, Shy Lady, like you said, I'm not going to say, well, they live here. Yes, my dogs do live here, but as a pet owner, I am going to put them away. I am going to put them up now. When people come over, I put the dogs outside, whatever, because for me as a pet owner, it makes sense because even though my dogs are for the most part friendly, they're still dogs. They are still dogs. You can do something and they snap at you or they bite you, and then all of a sudden it's my problem. So I do believe that yes, you should. If someone asked me to put my dog away or my cat away, I would. Does anybody want to comment on that? And hello, Juju. Did that answer your question, Shy Lady? I'm assuming that it did.
Yes, I'm
Don't,
sorry. I was typing and it won't let me talk if I have my little uh, keyboard pad on. But yes, thank you so much for answering that. And you are a very responsible pet owner, and I
okay.
appreciate that.
And and again, and I'm also one of those pet owners, and this may seem silly, but Shy Lady, you know how I was with my dog. It's like, I also have a problem with pet owners who don't wash their hands after touching their pets. It's like I am constantly washing my hands because you pet one, the other one has to come around. I'm also one of those people who I am constantly washing my hands when it comes to my pet. So I don't care if you have cat, dog, bird, hamster, whatever. Wash your hands. Hello, SSJ. How are you? So yeah. So does anybody want to make a comment on what Shy Lady said, or my comment back to her? Do you let them in the kitchen while cooking? They actually sit at the perimeter of the kitchen. My dogs know what rooms they can come in, what rooms they cannot go into. My son absolutely cannot stand them. They don't like him. And they don't even, if I go into my son's room to talk to him, if I have the door open, they literally just sit, they sit at the threshold. They will not walk in. So they know what rooms they can come in, what rooms they cannot go into. So yeah. And you have a question about that. Do you, Feisty One, do you have an issue with people who have their pets in the kitchen or whatever while cooking? Because I know people who have cats, sometimes their cats are jumping all over the counter, and I don't like that. So, okay, hold on. I have to take care of a little housekeeping here. And there we go. So, did you have something that you want to say on that one?
I wanted to say something if she's not going to.
Sure.
I have lots of relatives who have dogs. So I had one of my favorite relatives, my aunt. She's passed away a couple of years ago. She had two dogs. One was like a bulldog. They were both female. They were both small dogs. One was like a Chihuahua or something. And one thing I did not like. I mean, she was like I said, my favorite aunt. She would all whenever I came in town from Texas, she would always prepare things and I never could gather the courage to tell her, could you please not let your dogs in the kitchen? Because when she would cook, they would just shake fur everywhere, just everywhere. And I just knew that some of that dander and fur would wind up in the food. And so that was like a pet peeve of mine. And I never could say anything because she was always just making sure when I came to town, oh, that she just had food catered. She would make things, and I always just want to say, can you just take them out of the kitchen and whatever? And but they were good. They were a very good pet. She had them very well trained. That was the only thing I had a problem with is she would let them stay in the kitchen or whatever while she cooking. It just fur would go everywhere.
And that's another reason why my pets cannot come into the kitchen, because if you have fur, even if you had a pet bear, whatever, you're going to have, you're going to have, if they shake or whatever, it is going to go around the room, whatever. But no, I totally I totally get it, Shy Lady. I totally get it. So this is my question to you then, uh, to anyone. What Shy Lady just said. So she said that her aunt would come and go out of their way to cook and what have you. But at what point would you say something? I mean, what would it take for you to say something about your pet being in the kitchen, because I have said something to someone about their dogs being in the kitchen. I have said something to someone about their cats, being in the kitchen, because, again, with cats, I've seen people who allow their cats to, walk on their kitchen counters. And, people can say, well, cats are clean. They're still animals. Are you going to lick the bottom of your, cat's paws, or your dog's paws? No, you're not. So okay. And SJ said, I trained my dog to stay out of the kitchen for his safety. Okay. I couldn't say anything to my 80-year-old aunt. I would have asked if I could put them out. If they asked, then I would simply tell them that I'm afraid their doctor is going to get in the food because they're shedding. Their doctor is going to get in the food because they're shedding. I'm a little confused by that. What about the kitty litter stuck in paws? I mean, yes. It's just. They are our animals. Okay, typo. Thank you, SJ, for liking the show. They are still animals. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm just one of those people who I will say something. I'm just that person. I'm that person who will say something. I have been over people's homes where, and actually it was my son who actually said something. I was just trying to grit and bear it, whatever. But someone who, you're watching them cook, they don't wash their hands, whatever. I've seen them where they they've pet their dog, and then they're going to pick up food, and they're touching the food, and then they're putting, they're cooking, and they're, and you're just like, ew, you just don't want to eat it. And I missed that one, as SJ. Send it one more time. Um, you know, um, and my son's like, Mom, do we have to eat here? They didn't wash their hands, and I don't want to eat this, whatever. And I have respectfully said, I'm sorry, we're going to have to go. We have a bit of an emergency. And we end up leaving. I mean, because I'm not going to eat their food. And one person in particular asked why we left, whatever, and we were both starving when we left the house. We were both hungry. We ended up going to McDonald's or something, But I ended up telling them. I said, well, we're watching you pet your dog and whatever. Then you're cooking whatever, and we just, that's not, we didn't want to eat the food, whatever. And she was offended, but she came around, whatever. But did I go over her house to eat anymore? No. So she asked me, and I told her. None of that stuff bothers me at all. Okay, okay, Crucible Man. All right. Okay. 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 That's fine. I got food poisoning at a friend's house. It was bad. And that's another thing. It's like you just don't know what, you don't know how people cook their food. And again, this may seem silly, but growing up, my mother never allowed us to bring home food from other people's homes. And what I mean by that is, like, if there was a potluck at school or whatever, and we brought food home, whatever, my mother would always throw it away. If we were at a neighbor's house or whatever and they sent food home, my mother would always throw it away. She would not allow us to bring other people's food into the house. And maybe that's one reason why I am the way I am, but I am very critical when I see people cooking, and especially if I'm in the kitchen with them or whatever, and I'm looking at what they are doing. Now, granted, you can go to a restaurant and you don't know what's going on in that kitchen. You don't know, but um, I've been in restaurants where I've gone into the washroom, and I've seen my waiter in the washroom, and they come out and they don't wash their hands. I tell them to send the food back. Am I being ridiculous? Well, I mean, I was just in the washroom. They came out of the stall. They didn't wash their hands. Sorry, I don't want to eat there. So I too dislike this practice. So, I mean, um, I don't know. So, Crucible Man, let me ask you, what will it take for something to really gross you out?
I don't know. It's kind of like pornography. You can't define it, but you know it when you see it. Um, I don't know. Things like dog hair and petting their dogs and things like that. I mean, are you also a fan of the 5 second rule? I mean, there's lots of people who would never eat anything that fell on the floor. Now that doesn't bother me either. So I guess maybe I just have a strong immune system, but those things I just take as part of life. A dog shakes himself in the kitchen and some hairs get around. I'm sure I've seen worse. I've made it this far in my life with dogs being in the kitchen and dog hairs being wherever they are, and probably never even knew it. So to think just because dogs are not in the kitchen that they are not spreading their hairs and their fur and things, or kitty litter, I think that's a bit naive. So I take that stuff with a grain of salt and I just kind of let it roll.
All right, and you make a point, but I'm I have to vacuum every day, and even if I didn't have dogs, I just know, that you do have pet dander, and you have human dander. I mean, you have, we walk around and we're shedding, whatever. But when you tend to see it, it takes on a whole different, it takes on a whole different thing for me. So for me, I don't want to see it. But anyway, we have gone over time. I appreciate you guys joining in. I apologize for the rudeness that came in through 3 times on the show. Um, OJ, I will take your advice to heart. Crucible says, I live alone, so my standards are low. I had a child who had MRSA, so I take bacteria seriously. Yes, Shy Lady, I remember I remember that. Um, but again, when you see it, it takes on a whole different level. But you guys, thank you so much for joining the show today. And again, aside from it being Columbus Day, I'm more happy that we can actually celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. So I would celebrate. So that is the day that I am celebrating. Anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I hope to see you tomorrow. Speak your piece. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is my turn to talk. And I'll see you next time. Bye. And Juju says, I didn't think you were on as a national holiday. Today is Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Federal Day off. That means a number of institutions and businesses are closed. Holiday here in Massachusetts. Yes, it is a holiday here too. But thank you. Good show. Thank you. OJ, I hope you're able to get on next time. Feisty One, thank you so much for showing up at the end, towards the end. And Juju, thank you too. And Shy Lady, as always, thank you. Crucible Man, thank you very much for the conversation. You gave me a lot of conversation today. I do appreciate that. And again, I apologize for the rudeness that we had today. And OJ, again, I'm going to do a little research, and I will take your advice to heart. I really will. So, let's see. Anything else? I will listen to your show later. Much love. Strong hugs for everyone. Juju is spreading hugs to everyone. Bye, Shy Lady. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for liking the show. Shy Lady, I still would love to have your daughter come on. I know she's working, but when she has a chance, I love for her to come on because I know she would have a lot to say. Bye, Juju. And I am wrapping it up. Bye, everyone. Have a good day.